missed the impeachment charges on Thursday. Are you at all concerned that if some Democrats in tough races vote for that, it could come back to haunt them on the campaign trail?
Look, we're going to try and resolve this issue as quickly as possible. Impeachment should never be used to settle policy disagreements.
We're going to try to resolve this issue. Well, it's quite an issue, isn't it? You've been handed an impeachment. You do have to have a trial, right? We'll see if they play that game. Joining me now, a great senator from the state of Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, look, I can see it coming. I'm sure you can see it coming. There's no way there's going to be an impeachment trial, right? Only Republicans would do something so stupid.
Well, it's certainly what Senator Schumer is talking about right now, and it's pretty obvious why they don't want an impeachment trial, is they don't want the public understanding what a catastrophe their open border policy is. So they want to table this as quickly as possible and move on. But Republicans here in the Senate, we're trying to do everything we can to highlight this issue. We held a press conference yesterday saying that it's our constitutional responsibility to hold a trial when the House managed to send over the articles of impeachment. And it's certainly our responsibility to point out to the American public the clear and present danger that is President Biden and his Democrat colleagues in Congress, their open border policy. And it's extremely important to understand that it's not just President Biden. This is every Democrat in Congress supports an open border. They caused this problem. They just don't want the American public to understand the full extent of it.
Senator, how much power do we have the power to force a trial? People don't understand how this works with motions and this and that. Normal people don't understand how that works. Do we have the juice without the majority to force a trial?
Yeah, probably not, particularly now the parliamentarian has ruled that a motion to table would be in order. We don't agree with that, but once the parliamentarian rules, that's basically how the Senate operates. But again, we don't have to lay down, and we're not. A number of us contacted Speaker Johnson, who had intended to deliver those articles today at 5 o'clock, setting up Schumer's tabling motion Thursday at 1 o'clock. That's generally when the Senate is adjourning for the week and people are heading back to their states. And so they wanted to snuff this thing out this week. A number of us contacted Speaker Johnson. He didn't really understand the Senate only works till about noon on Thursday. And so he decided to delay delivering those articles so that we can make the point that we should hold a trial. But certainly we can make the point about what a catastrophe Biden's open border policy is.
Yeah, it's obvious they don't want to actually solve this problem, even though old Papa Joe is on TV talking about shutting down the border. Here he was.
Have you made a final decision on taking executive order in terms of what you want to do at the border? That includes the power to shut down the border as it was suggested.
Well, it's suggested that. We're examining whether or not I have that power.
Why do these people pretend now? It's very obvious to everyone, isn't it, Senator? They don't want the border closed. They want it open.
Well, it's obvious to me. It's obvious to you. But it also should be obvious that President Biden has the authority. President Trump had the authority. Even though it's been weakened by court decisions, a president has, the current laws exude deference is what the Supreme Court ruled. He has the authority. So President Trump used that authority to close down the border. President Biden used that exact same executive authority and opened it back up. So he has the authority. He just doesn't want to use it because, again, they want an open border. They caused this problem. They just don't want the American public to notice it. But the American public is noticing it primarily because Democrat mayors who touted their sanctuary cities realize that their sanctuary cities are going to be destroyed by President Biden's open border policy. So the mainstream media was forced to start covering this catastrophe.
Senator, switching gears here, there's a couple big debates going on in Congress right now. One of the biggies, probably the biggie, is FISA. Is the government going to keep being able to spy on me and take all my stuff without actually getting a warrant? Are they? Is this something that GOP is finally going to put a stop to?
Well, I was hoping so. I know Chairman Jordan had worked with his committee to require warrants on American citizens. For some reason, the House Intelligence Committee doesn't like that. Other Republicans don't like that. They think it's too restrictive. I don't think it's too restrictive because now we've seen how FISA has been abused by the FBI, by federal law enforcement. So you have to put those types of controls in. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I fear that the fix is in, but I certainly hope that Chairman Jordan's amendments get voted on, because I think if they will be voted on, sounds like they would pass. So again, I don't know exactly how this is going to be disposed of, but from my standpoint, we definitely need to reform FISA. And this is coming from somebody who's supported in the past when we were told, well, show us one American whose constitutional rights have ever been trampled on. Back then, I couldn't point to anybody. Now I can point to a former president of the United States whose constitutional rights were trampled on. So we absolutely need reform to FISA.
Senator, Ukraine aid is obviously the other big thing in the news right now. What do we send? Do we send anything? Do we send nothing? You're a senator with access to a lot of people that I don't have access to. What is the goal for Ukraine? It's one thing to stand up and say, send Ukraine money. That's not a goal. What is the goal? Or do they believe they can push the Russians out? What are they trying to do now?
Well, I fear what they're trying to do is use the Ukrainian people as a proxy in a proxy war against Russia to degrade their military and industrial capacity. But I would argue it's having the exact opposite effect. The war in Ukraine has driven up oil prices. That means that more oil revenue is going to Russia. They're building up their industrial base, their military industrial complex. They're producing more 155 millimeter shells. So I don't see Russia getting weakened in this process. I see Ukraine being destroyed. So from my standpoint, the only way this war in Ukraine ends is at the negotiating table. And any action we take ought to be trying to get Putin to come to the negotiating table to end this bloody stalemate. Because in the end, it's not good for Russia. It's not good to have Russian conscripts die to destroy Ukraine further. But this administration, again, like most Democrats, completely denying reality. I heard Chuck Schumer come out of the White House meeting say it's simple. $60 billion, if Ukraine gets it, they win. If not, they lose. How are they going to win? You're not going to displace Russia out of Ukraine. Russia's not going to lose this war. They have 4 times the population. Vladimir Putin losing this war is existential to Vladimir Putin. They have nuclear weapons. They're not going to lose this war. We need to recognize that unfortunate reality.
Senator, finally, Zuckerbucks are no longer, as they're known, they're no longer going to be allowed in Wisconsin. I'm hearing a lot of encouraging news in Wisconsin because of local school board races. We have these ballot initiatives that are going through. Is Wisconsin redder than maybe most people thought it is? They elected you.
I wish it were. I don't think it is. We're a very evenly divided state. And the fact of the matter is in order to win, we need an incredibly strong ground game. We need community captains. I mean, Democrats, and this is true through other states as well, they've got strongholds in the big Democrat-controlled cities. It's a lot easier to mine all the votes they need in just a couple localities, where Republicans, we have to go throughout the state, every little small town, every small city. We need to get all those votes, so it needs an incredibly strong ground game. Plus, the rules of the elections are set. We may not like them, but we have early voting, you have absentee voting, you have ballot harvesting in Wisconsin. We've got to engage in all of those things. We can't be outvoted prior to Election Day. We need to do everything else to bank our votes early, and that's what we're certainly encouraging throughout the state of Wisconsin for Republicans to do.